We have the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance. We ask for your blessing on the people who have been called to serve the community in which we live, work, and play. Amen. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty
and justice for all.
All right. I have a call for a motion to approve the agenda. Need a second?
I'll second.
Take a vote. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, say no. Aye.
I abstain. I wasn't here.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'll pass. Two ayes and one abstention. Old business. Minutes from the meeting on February 28th, 2023, Board of Zoning Appeals meeting, which was attached to our packets that were handed out. So I'm asking for a motion to approve the minutes as written, approved with changes, then state the changes, or deny with minutes with explanation in the motion. Any motion?
I'll move to approve. I wasn't here, but.
That's okay, you can.
Okay,
Yeah.
Okay, I'll second.
okay. All right, all approval, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Noes, there's no noes, so we'll move on. New business. I guess we're going to have an election of the Board of Zoning Appeals Vice Chairman.
So our vice chairman is no longer on the board, so we do have a chairman, Mr. Kavanaugh, in place. And at this time, if we were asking for election of a vice chairman who would step in the case of Mr. Kavanaugh's absence. If you are not comfortable making that motion this meeting, we can move this, postpone it to the next meeting as well. But it will just be the position that fills in your absence.
Well, I don't know how you two gentlemen feel. We could wait for the other members to show up at the next meeting, or we could do this now.
I think we should wait and make sure we have enough people here.
So we're going to have a
Yeah.
motion to wait to the next meeting. I have a second? And everybody in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, and there are no noes. Okay, we have a swearing in for public comment. Is there anybody in the room that is looking to make a comment during the meeting?
Does it come up here?
Yeah.
Go ahead and come up here.
Good afternoon. So we're asking you if what you're telling us is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, just like they do in court?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Your name?
Jose. My full name?
Yes, sir?
Jose Alberto Santoyo Hernandez.
Okay.
It's long. I know. I try to sue my mom for that.
All right. Okay, we'll move on to the, the reason why we're all here. We have a consideration of variance request to approve an open shed to remain 9 feet in the rear setback and 3 feet into the side setback on parcel 0294403-015, located at 131 Sunset Circle in the single-family residential 2 zoning district. A presentation from the,
All right. Thank you, guys. My name is Christopher Boyd. I work with the planning department. And today's presentation is going to cover both of the variances. And then at the end, you'll make 2 separate motions.
Okay.
This is for 131 Sunset Circle. The first variance is going to be they're requested to allow an open shed to remain within 9 feet of the rear setback and 3 feet into the side setback. And then the second one's going to be they seek to keep the open shed at its current size of 1,024 square feet, which is over the 40% allowed per the Hardeeville zoning ordinance. And the property is located once again at 131 Sunset Circle. So just for a little bit of background, we've gone through court. This was ticketed because the shed was built without permits, and it ended up down in magistrate court. And Jose did end up paying a fine for having the structure built. But we worked with him and de- decided the best route would be to try to come here to BZA to see if it was something that maybe you guys could allow before he has to take the structure down. Um, so that's a little bit of background. We've been to court a couple times. And I hit the wrong thing here. And for the project setting, so he is zoned single family residential too. And to the north, west, and east are all residential. And then right behind his property is a wooded lot that is zoned for highway commercial, which you can see. Um,
Yep.
this is his property here. Then you have, this is Glover Street that runs behind his property. His shed is right in this area, right?
No, it's
Or a little further over? Is right over in this area. So it abuts the highway commercial zoning here. And then you have Glover Street with some homes back behind him. And then that gives you a little visual of the zoning there. The yellow is the residential and the purple is the highway commercial. And then as you can see here, this is the structure that does sit on the property. Currently, this is what was built without any permits. So you can see that it sits right, it's about 3 feet off of that property line there on this side. But it's also 9 feet into the setback for this zoning district. And the structure is a little over 1,100 square feet. Little, or it's 1099.
1020.
1020. Oh, I think it's 1024 actually. So he's here today to see if the board will grant him a variance to allow him to keep the size and keep it within the setback. But when making your motion today, these are some of the 5 points that that have to be met. That he has to be able to prove there are extraordinary and exceptional conditions pertaining to the property. That the conditions do not generally apply to any other property in the area, and that the conditions wouldn't prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And let's see, the authorization of the variance will not be of a substantial detriment to adjacent property or to the public good, and the character of the district will not be harmed by granting the variance. And then the last thing you'll consider is special circumstances or conditions that may exist, such as size of the property, shape, things that were uncommon or not common with his property versus the others. And then we'll go into the analysis. So once again, the applicant is requesting a variance to allow an open shed to remain at 1,024 square feet. Based on the calculations, this would make the shed 800, a little over 800 square feet over what's allowed based on the home being 1,241 square feet. There are also, this, to be considered, there are 2 other sheds on the property that equal just under 275 square feet. And that has to be considered as part of overall square footage for accessory dwelling units when we look at the 40%. So with that, all the accessory dwelling units combined can't exceed 40% of the primary dwelling unit. And at this time, he sits at about 1,299 square feet of accessory dwelling units, which is over 100% of what's allowed. The use proposed in this application would be inconsistent with the single-family residential 2 zoning, which is why we're here today, to see if you guys can grant a variance for the shed. And then back to the points of what's allowed. So for extraordinary circumstances, staff did not find that there were any exceptional conditions that would apply to this property. And these conditions do not apply generally to other property in the vicinity. I can't talk today. We also didn't find that there were any extraordinary or exceptional conditions that would apply to the property for point number 2. Number 3, there are currently no conditions that would prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. The resident could apply for permits for a smaller structure that would meet the intent of the Hardeeville zoning and development ordinance. And then the authorization of a variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property. Should the board decide to grant the variance at its current size, it would not cause substantial detriment to any of the adjacent properties or to the public good as situated to the rear of the residence, based on they have that road that comes behind them, and then the residents are across the street, and then you have the highway commercial property on the backside. So it wouldn't negatively impact those properties at this time. And then any special circumstances for this property. Once again, there were no extraordinary or exceptional conditions that applied to this property as far as the sizing goes. And then getting into the second variance, which is for the structure to remain within the setback, it's follows kind of the same path where there wasn't any extraordinary circumstances for this property, but there's also no conditions that would prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. He could apply for a smaller structure that would be further into the property that would meet setback requirements. And then with that, he also, let me back up, hold on. It wouldn't negatively impact any adjacent properties either where it's at. So you kind of have that going for him in that aspect, that it wouldn't negatively impact any of the adjacent properties. With that being said, when making the motion today, you'll have to make 2 motions. You can motion to approve the application as presented. You can motion to approve the application with conditions, and if you decide to do that, you'll need to clearly state what the condition is, whether it's a reduced size, whether instead of being 9 feet into the setback, you grant a variance for it to be, I'm just throwing out a number, 4 feet into the setback. That would be the condition that you would put on that. Or if you can make a motion to deny the application, if you do that, you need to clearly state the reason why and give him a time frame to get the structure taken down. So with that, I'm going to allow Jose to come up here and answer any questions that you have and present his side of the case.
Good afternoon, Mr. Santoyo. How are you?
So far, so good.
Okay. So I only have a couple questions, and then these gentlemen. When you built this, can you tell me why you didn't go to the city for a building permit, or did you think that you didn't need one? I mean, I don't understand how this happened to begin with.
I'll be honest. I'm so tucked in there, nobody sees anything in there. And I figured it was just going to be an open shed. So, when he comes out, that's where my daughter can play in there, because we have a small pool in there outside. Well, it's a decent sized pool, but it's out of metal. And she could just be on the shed. I really didn't. I knew that I had to pull one, but I try to get away with it, but I'm willing to do what I can to get it fixed.
Not the right thing to do, right? Is there any power back there?
No, everything is run to outlets.
I'm sorry?
I have outlets.
Okay. You gentlemen have any questions?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I noticed in the photos, though, that there was lighting.
Yes,
It
but
is
everything is run to outlets.
Right. but
Connect
that's-
one
yeah,
and
that's,
two.
but you did wire electric into the shed.
Yes, but it's not to the house. It's not to real power. It's to outlets. It's just for lights.
Right, but there is electricity.
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry. With that, so for this, we're gonna this will do the zoning, but when if you guys decide to approve this, he does have to go through the building department, and it does have to meet building code, and part of that is the electrical component. They're gonna have to go out and inspect whatever he has done with the electric out there, just to keep that in mind. So if it goes through this process, it still has to go through the building side for full compliance.
A couple questions for you, I'm sorry. Are there any easements that he's infringing on? Who owns the property that the shed is on that's not his property?
The shed's on his property. It's
The
his
entire shed is on his property? Okay, it's a
Yeah.
setback then,
It's
right?
just in the setback, yeah.
Okay. Okay, that answers my other two questions. So,
And, Chris, just
I
to
wanted to get engineers and whatever. Well, I already got an engineer. Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, and one more point, it is all within that fenced area in the back, just to make clear. It's hard to see in that one picture because I wasn't able to get back in there to get it, but it is within the
how
fenced
much
area.
further back does his property go behind the shed?
It's,
7 feet, 9 feet.
Behind my fence is like 2 feet.
yeah, it's a couple feet, and then you hit Glover Street. There's a road back there,
Okay.
It's a wooden
And
fence.
and it's a wooden fence.
Is the setback just city policy, or is it set for that particular property for a reason?
It's set within, so each properties have a setback. It's to allow if there is utility work and things like that to come in. For some reason, I'm not sure what utilities run back there, but it would be for something like that if they needed to get through
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, but
and it's,
But that's what I was asking about the
Yeah.
easement. If there's some form.
there's not an
utility
easement back there that I know of right now. I mean, that I know of.
Okay.
I'm sorry, there's one right when I go to my house, there's an easement. But that's in the front, not in the back.
That's a little different for
Okay.
that on the front, but
so under current ordinances, it's 10 feet in the rear and 5 feet on the side, correct?
yes, for that zoning district.
That
Each zoning district has a different set of
Right,
setbacks.
right, yeah. Okay. Do you have any questions?
Hold
Oh,
on a
sorry,
second,
sorry. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Are there any safety concerns for that? He already owns the property back there, but just pro forma here, is there any safety concerns by using this additional property?
Not by the zoning ordinance.
Okay.
So the two existing sheds,
Yes.
what's in those?
My work stuff,
Yeah?
construction stuff. One is removable. They dropped it off. That could be moved. It's removable. The other one is like 4x4, 5x5, and that's where the wife keeps all the Christmas lights.
I have one, wife just like that, yeah. So those two little ones could be moved within the boundaries.
Yes, those can be moved.
The biggest one, the one we're talking about, how involved would it be to reduce the size of that so it conforms to the setbacks?
Well, I have to remove the flooring and set new posts, and then
In
cut the roof so it can be set as I'm being told.
Did you by chance, before this meeting, do any cost analysis of what that would cost to do that?
I do that for a living, so I know how much it's gonna cost me to move it.
So with these cases, we actually can't consider any cost factor in any decisions being made or would it come out of pocket for him.
But it is possible.
But I'm looking at hardship as part of the,
Yeah, financial hardship is not allowed to be considered in these cases.
But the size, it is possible, you being a construction person, to bring that shed back within the allowable boundaries.
To make it smaller, yes.
And it would still meet the need that you have for a shelter for the pool?
It won't be the size that I will want. And it won't be just a shed for the pool, but I'm also trying to keep, all my, the wife's trying to keep all her winter plants, her agriculture stuff in there for the winter, because everything dies in the winter here.
So you're going to close this shed in?
No, no, I'm not. That just keeps it from all that cold coming from the sky.
Mike, you had brought up the other two sheds. So, correct me if I'm wrong, right? It's a combination of the three sheds, which exceeds the square footage he's allowed for sheds?
Yes.
Yeah, it would be the combination of all three.
Were there any calculations of what would happen if, as one of the conditions, that one or both sheds are removed to keep that shed?
If that's a condition that you guys wanted to put as part of your approval, you certainly could.
Okay.
How much would the new shed have to be reduced to meet that?
Yeah, exactly.
Footage.
How much would he have to
You guys could
reduce?
you could put a cap on the square footage allowed too as part of your condition. If you guys decide to go that route, that could potentially allow him to keep the two sheds and then reduce the size of the other, but you could certainly do a cap. So right now he's at 1,299 square feet total, so you could come up with a number.
What's
he
the
can't
allowable
exceed.
number?
Based on the square footage of the home, the max would be 497 square feet per the ordinance
For all three sheds?
for all three, the total.
Yep.
Yeah, so you could potentially, as part of your approval with a condition, you could say instead of 497, you could say 600, just throwing a number, not specific or anything, but you could certainly raise that number if you wanted to grant a variance for him to help him out, but the max, as the ordinance reads, would be 497, would be what we could approve at staff level.
So the existing sheds, as I'm looking at this, are 200 square feet, and I can't see the little one. It looks like it's,
When I calculated them, it came to just under 275 square feet for both of them
the
total.
two sheds?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would,
So he can have a shed, if he's going to conform, it's going to be 200 and, what,
Yeah.
220 square feet?
I would recommend if you were going to, for that one, if you were going to put a cap on it, that instead of saying specifically that one of the others had to be removed, I would do an overall maximum square footage for him to stay within, and then he can kind of figure out how he's going to accomplish that. And it would still require him to, again, go through the building permitting process for that, anything that's related to the new shed.
Do we know of any impact that the shed will have on the watershed, especially of the adjacent property?
So right now, there was no, as far as maximum total coverage for that would fall under the maximum open space requirement, which that's not in violation at this time. So there shouldn't be any negative impacts as far as that aspect is concerned.
Okay. Well, just to understand, right, this is a impervious surface.
Correct.
The roof, right? It's not the yard that was there previous to absorb, so the water has to go somewhere. I'm just asking if there was any consideration, or if we have any consideration as a board for that.
This time you do not, because it doesn't exceed those maximum open space requirements. That would be part of the review with the building permit to cover the other code requirements. But the board can only variances from the ordinance right now are that maximum square footage and the setback.
Okay. Thank you.
But yes, that is something that we definitely consider, and we try to make sure that everything is designed based on that maximum impervious coverage. I know downtown, you know, there's some outdated things that were grandfathered in, but our hopes are that our system's designed to account for anything that falls within that number.
And this picture, this is the rear, is that correct?
Yes, that's the rear, and then that is the fence that runs along its property line, and then the road's right behind it.
And this seems,
Or actually, that's the woods. Sorry, that's the property that's zoned the highway commercial.
okay, so this, on our plat, this is on the right, this fence. This roof line seems to be dumping water over that fence, which I don't think is appropriate.
And that was something during the building permitting process that we would take a look at.
Okay.
that's one of those things that for the building code, he would have to comply with. So that would be something he may have to, depending on code, and I can't speak to it because I'm not in the building department. They could have to reduce it or.
Also, the zoning does get a review of everything that goes through the building permit process. So anything under the zoning ordinance related to drainage is able to be looked at as well.
So if he's going to conform with not dumping water onto the neighbor's property,
Right.
he would have to bring that back away from the fence X number of feet anyway.
Well, or the roof would have to be designed differently, and
Or you'd
that
have to
is,
put a gutter on it
yeah.
and drain the,
Yeah.
So that is something that falls under the stormwater
permit
portion. You
process.
cannot cause a drainage to go off your property
Right.
onto a neighbor's property, so that would be looked at in the zoning review.
Thank you.
And sorry, just for reference, there is a canal that runs back behind that property as well, where it
Yeah.
drains into, so.
Is that, wait a minute, is that fence line that's in the back, so that's by the canal on the side?
This is on the right-hand side as we're looking at the plat,
Okay,
right here.
okay.
Can I say something? Well, the reason on my fence back there is because, it's a mess back there. It is full of trash.
The adjacent property.
Behind my property is nothing but full of trash. So, I don't even know if I should have to bring this up, but, somebody's got to go and do something about it. I can get the fumes to my property, but I don't say anything. I don't know who's dumping it back there, but somebody keeps walking into the back and they just keep doing all that.
Yep.
So let me go back to the other two sheds. So as a scenario,
Yes.
if we asked you to move those, would that cause a problem?
No, it wouldn't cause a problem. I'm just gonna have less space, but like less place where I can put my work-related tools. I wouldn't mind taking down a little shed, where the wife keeps her Christmas stuff and put it in the big shed.
She might
Keep
mind.
blaming the wife.
where is she?
That's why
Yeah,
she's not
She
here.
should be here. We all set on questions?
Nope,
No more?
don't think so.
Okay, well, I can make a motion that we can vote to approve as is, or I can make a motion that we approve with exceptions.
I'm leaning toward exceptions.
Yes.
Where I'm leaning.
Okay, we have to list the exceptions that we're going to,
My exceptions would be to move these two into conformity and reduce the size of this one so it conforms to the setbacks and the square footage. That's where I would be.
I'm not worried about the back of the property, I'm worried about the side, where it affects somebody else's property that has ownership. So I agree, but not on both setbacks, but just the setback when you're looking at the house on the right.
all right, so I'm going to split the difference. So I'm going to make a motion that the first consideration of variance to be at 9 feet and 3 feet be approved as is, without any exceptions. Anybody second that? The two motions here.
Yes, the question is, the back, the rear, is that 3 feet? Is that where that setback, where the building is right now? Is that 3 feet away from the line?
Yes. Oh, no, it's 3 feet into the setback.
How far back from the property line is it?
7 feet.
It's 7 feet.
No. It's 7 feet on one corner, then it angles back.
I don't have it.
It would be 7 at the lowest amount.
Okay. So 3 feet it would be on this, on the side facing the trash property. And 7 feet would be on the back, or 9 feet would be on the back.
So the motion was,
So the 9, sorry.
motion was is
Hold on.
regarding the setback.
So where it goes into the 9-foot setback, you have Glover Street that runs behind. Where it's 3 feet into the setback is where that highway commercial vacant property is at.
Yes.
Okay.
Again, I'll,
So the motion is to
motion is to
allow
Allow
him to
the-
go 9 feet into the setback on the back
and 3 feet,
and 3 feet on the side.
right? Anybody second that motion?
Again, forgive me, I'm being dense. I
Okay,
apologize.
so there's two motions to be had.
No, I
One
know,
has to
I
do
know,
with
I
setback.
got the
So
motion.
motion is to leave the shed, the back shed, where it is, not meeting the setback lines.
Right, yeah, so I understand.
That's
It's okay. Just a question though, okay? I just, look at this house. How much, it's 3 feet into the setback, right? So how much room now is left between that and the fence line, the actual border of the property?
It would be
It's, on your picture,
It's 3
very
feet into the
close.
setback. There's a 10-foot, the setback's 10 feet. It's 3 feet in, so you have 7 feet to the property line.
This is,
left.
this is the space right here. Between,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, that's a 7.
But there's still some property on the backside of that fence before you hit the road. That's all, that's
Okay.
part of
Oh,
his.
part of his property
Yeah.
is beyond the fence,
Yeah.
okay.
that helps.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, so rather than repeat myself, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay. We have a vote?
Okay?
I say aye?
Aye.
Okay, that motion passed. You're all set there. So the second consideration is to approve a open shed to remain as in current size at 1,024 square feet on parcel, et cetera, located at 131, or we add amendments to it, or exceptions.
I'll make a motion with exception
Okay.
that the other two sheds would need to be moved off property.
Okay. Do we have a second? I'll second. We have a vote? Everybody votes okay? Or votes in favor of? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So the second motion passed. So, okay, so right now,
You have explaining to do to the wife.
I didn't understand anything.
I'll explain to you.
yeah, she'll take care of that.
So we're going to remove the two sheds, the smaller sheds.
Yes, and leave the big one.
Leave the big one. Okay.
Yep.
And then you just make a motion to.
I make a motion to adjourn.
A second?
Oh,
Oh, I'm
sorry.
sorry.
else?
Go ahead and do, ask if there's any board member comments.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, no, he's leaving, everybody. Vote to adjourn. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Cool.
You gotta do these more often, that way